for staying with us on TV West. You're watching News Radar. I'm Victoria Ogudenge. Here's what on the radar this hour. INEC presents Adeleke with certificate of return after the governor secured 511,000 votes in Saturday's poll, winning 19 of Osun's 30 local governments. Lagos declares Thursday a work-free day for Isheshe Day celebrations, expected to draw over 3 million traditional worshippers with prayers, rituals, and cultural displays. Security forces blocked retired military personnel from protesting at the Defense Ministry in Abuja over demands for pension adjustments tied to salary increase for serving soldiers. And in sports, the Premier League returns this weekend. Arsenal hosts Coventry on Friday, while Manchester City begin their title defense at Bournemouth on Sunday. We'll bring you the details of these stories and more very shortly. Now the news in details. Governor Ademola Adeleke has received his certificate of return from the Independent National Electoral Commission. The presentation took place at INEC headquarters in Osogbo on Wednesday afternoon. The resident electoral commissioner, Oluwatoyin Babalola, handed the certificate to the governor shortly after his deputy received his own. Adeleke of the Accord Party won Saturday's governorship election. He polled over 511,000 votes to defeat his closest rival, Munuruddin Oyebamiji of the APC, who scored over 444,000 votes. The returning officer declared Adeleke the winner after he secured victory in 19 of the state's 30 local government areas. Oyebamiji won 11. INEC National Supervising Commissioner for Osun State, Professor Kunle Ajayi, says the successful conduct of the election reflects the resilience and determination of Osun people. Babalola commended voters for their participation and urged the governor to be magnanimous in victory. Former Ekiti State Governor Ayodele Fayose has alleged that the Accord Party spent at least 40 billion naira on the August 15 Osun State governorship election. Fayose was reacting to claims by Afrobeat singer David Adeleke, popularly known as Davido, that the APC spent 110 billion naira on vote buying during the election. He also alleged that more than 7.5 billion naira was distributed to various local governments and wards shortly before the election. However, Fayose provided no evidence to support the figures. He said both the Accord Party and the APC spent beyond the legal threshold for electoral expenditure. The Accord Party candidate, Ademola Adeleke, won the election with 511,067 votes, defeating the APC Bola Oyebamiji, who polled 444,815 votes. Fayose attributed Adeleke's victory partly to the political strength of the Adeleke's family in Ede and advised the APC to challenge the results to court, the results in court if it had grounds to do so. The Ekiti State Executive Council has approved the appointment of Prince Bamidele Oni as the new Owa of Okeako, Ekiti in Ikole local government area, ending a 25-year vacancy in the traditional stool. The approval was given at the council's 6th meeting of 2026 held on Tuesday in Ado Ekiti. The stool had been vacant since 2000, following a prolonged succession dispute among the ruling houses. The state government said the dispute was resolved after a Supreme Court judgment in December 2025 affirmed the eligibility of male members and 3 stocks in the Aofin ruling house to contest for the stool. It said stakeholders subsequently reached an agreement on the succession process, after which Prince Oni emerged as the unanimous choice of the 4 participating kingmakers. The government has also authorized the publication of his appointment in the Ekiti State Government Gazette. The Okeako Progressive Union described the development as the conclusion of a long succession process, expressing optimism that the new monarch's emergence would usher in peace, unity, and development in the community. The Lagos State government has declared Thursday, August 20, 2026, a work-free day to enable residents to participate in activities marking the year Isheshe Day celebration. The special advisor to the governor on tourism, arts and culture, Idris Aregbe, announced this in a statement on Wednesday. He said the decision would allow residents and visitors to fully participate in the celebration, which is expected to attract more than more than 3 million traditional worshippers. Aregbe described Isheshe Day as an important celebration of Yoruba spirituality and cultural heritage, noting that its observance in Lagos has continued since 2023. The celebration, which marks the culmination of a week-long program, will feature prayers, rituals, processions, drumming, and other cultural displays. The activities will be coordinated by the Association of African Traditional Religion Nigeria and overseas. Aregbe urged participants to celebrate peacefully and respectfully, saying the event is aimed at promoting culture, pride, unity, and the preservation of indigenous traditions. President Bola Tinubu has signed a national peace accord ahead of the 2027 general elections. It was represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, at the ceremony in Abuja. The agreements commit political parties and presidential candidates to peaceful and issue-based campaigns. Campaigns officially begin on Wednesday. Peter Obi of the NDC and Omoyele Sowore of the AAC attended the event. SDP candidates Adewale Adebayo was also present. Akume urged politicians to campaign on policies and avoid exploiting ethnic and religious divisions. He says the APC rejects violence, hate speech, and misinformation. But Sowore dismissed the accord as a ritual. He argues that previous peace agreements have not stopped electoral violence. He is calling for sanctions against violators. Obi urged Nigerians to vote against politicians who breach the peace agreement. He says credible elections must be held where every vote counts. INEC Chairman Joash Amupiton expressed concern over the growing use of hate speech and personal attacks in campaigns. He urged candidates to focus on issues affecting Nigerians. President Bola Tinubu has joined the United States Department of Justice in seeking a 10-day extension to respond to a motion for the release of records relating to the alleged drug trafficking. Tinubu's legal team filed a notice before the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia. His lawyers asked to be placed on the same schedule as the defendants in the case, but U.S. District Judge Burley Howell has denied the applications for the extension. The case has been pending for more than 3 years. The records sought concern U.S. investigation and allegations linking Tinubu to suspected drug trafficking activities. Previous reports have connected a $460,000 asset forfeiture, including Tinubu, to a federal investigation into a Chicago-based heroin traffic network. Tinubu has consistently denied wrongdoings. His lawyers maintain that the forfeiture was a civil action against the money, not a criminal case against him. They say he was never arrested, indicated, or convicted of any drug offense in the United States. Armed police and soldiers have blocked retired military personnel from protesting in front of the Ministry of Defense in Abuja. The ex-servicemen had gathered to demand the implementation of consequential adjustments to their pensions. The adjustments arise from salary increase approved from serving military personnel. The protesters attempted to move towards the front of the ministry, but more security personnel were mobilized to prevent them from assembling the location. The development follows an earlier confrontation between serving soldiers and the retired military personnel. Soldiers deployed to the ministry had moved against the protestants as they tried to assemble at the premises. The development follows an earlier confrontation between serving soldiers and the retired military personnel. The heavy security presence has since prevented the ex-servicemen from converging as planned. And in health, the Lagos State Health Management Agency, LASHMA, has called for stronger collaboration with journalists to boost awareness and public trust in the state health insurance scheme. The permanent secretary of LASHMA, Dr. Emanuela Zamba, represented by the agency's head of business development, Mr. Rotimi Olatunji, made the call at a 2-day capacity building program for health writers in Lagos. Zamba said the engagement fulfills a commitment made at a national media dialogue organized by the International Society of Media in Public Health in Abuja. She disclosed that LASHMA, in collaboration with ISMPH, trained 56 journalists in February, stressing the importance of factual reporting in improving public understanding of health insurance. The training exposed journalists to the various Ilera Eco packages, their benefits, and the categories of residents eligible for the scheme, while also providing insights into how the scheme operates and how residents can access healthcare services. The Permanent Secretary also disclosed that the Equity Fund for Vulnerable Residents had been increased from 1 billion naira to 3 billion naira, with 1% of the state's consolidated revenue fund dedicated to the fund.
In October 2025, I attended the National Media Dialogue organized by the International Society of Media in Public Health in Abuja, where I engaged with media stakeholders and made a commitment that upon my return to Lagos, LASHMA will prioritize the capacity building of journalists as critical partner in advancing health insurance awareness, transparency, and accountability. In addition, 1% of the consolidated revenue fund has been dedicated as an equity fund for vulnerable residents. The fund was increased from 1 billion to 3 billion and approved as one-line charge by Mr. Governor, reinforcing the state's commitment to leaving no one behind. Gentlemen of the press, policies alone do not guarantee success. Their effectiveness depends on understanding, cooperation, and participation. The media therefore has a critical responsibility to explain policies accurately, dispel myths, amplify impact, and hold institutions accountable. This capacity building program is designed to deepen your understanding of Lagos State health scheme and equip you with the accurate information for responsible and informed reporting. I therefore encourage you to see this engagement as a partnership with the health sector.
You're watching News Trader on TVWest. We'll take a short break now and return with more news. Stay with us.
You are watching the test transmission of TVWest. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to our social media handle at TVWestNG across all social networks. Thanks for staying with us.
TV West, reporting the West, inspiring progress.
Welcome back to News Trader on TVWest. Now to the rest of the news. In business, the federal government says it saved 15.8 trillion naira from the removal of fuel subsidy and other reforms over the last 3 years. Finance Minister Taiwo Oyedele disclosed this at a press conference on Wednesday. He says the saving accrued to the Federation account and were shared among the federal government, state, and local governments. The federal government received 5.43 trillion naira, states got 6.52 trillion, while local government received 3.88 trillion. Oyedele says the reforms also generated over 3 trillion naira in other incremental revenues. But he explains that the government spent about 30.464 trillion on additional expenditures during the same period. That spending covered wage adjustments, external debt servicing, infrastructure, and electricity subsidies. Oyedele says subsidy removal did not create one large pool of cash for the federal government. Instead, it reduced a major fiscal burden and the amount of additional borrowing that would otherwise have been required. Advisors to Dangote Petroleum Refinery planned initial public offering have announced a $1 billion underwriting program. The program includes a completed $600 million private placement and $400 million underwriting commitment for the planned IPO. The remaining $400 million will take effect when the IPO is launched. It remains subject to market conditions, regulatory approvals, and final documentation. The refinery has applied to Nigeria's Securities and Exchange Commission for a $5 billion IPO. The final size of the offering has not yet been determined. Aliko Dangote describes the development as an important milestone for the refinery and for Africa capital market. He says the support shows confidence in the refinery's strategic role. The refinery has become a major beneficiary of supply disruptions linked to Iran war. It has increased sale of jet fuel across Africa and into Western Europe as buyers seek alternative supplies. And on the foreign scene, several people have been killed in a tourist helicopter crash in Kenya's Samburu County. Police said the dead include a pilot and 6 tourists. The aircraft was flying to the Lozaba Conservancy when it crashed on Wednesday. A police report from the Accra Sports Station confirms the death but does not give the nationalities of the tourists. Luxury 4 Agency and Beyond says the helicopter was carrying its guests when it crashed near Mount Olokokwe. The company says local authorities are investigating and the cause of the crash has not yet been determined. Rescue officials are at the scene. The Kenya Red Cross has released images showing emergency responders working at the crash site. Russian President Vladimir Putin has held talks with Myanmar's leader Min Aung Hlaing in Moscow. The meeting focused on deepening cooperation between the two countries, including prospective energy deals. Putin described Min Aung Hlaing as a friend of Russia. The Russian leader says both countries are discussing the construction of an oil refinery in Myanmar. They are also exploring hydrocarbon production on Myanmar's continental shelf. Putin says there are good prospects for supplies of Russian liquefied natural gas to Myanmar, including for onward transits to the nations. This is Min Aung Hlaing's first visit to a non-neighboring country since becoming president in April. The trip signals deepening ties between Moscow and Myanmar as both face pressure from the West. Myanmar has been in turmoil since the military seized power in 2021, triggering a civil war. Russia backs Myanmar's military and has expanded defense cooperation within the country. Canada has invited 1,000 candidates to apply for permanent residence through its express entry system. The latest round was conducted on Tuesday under the Canadian Experience class. Immigration authorities says candidates needed a minimum comprehensive ranking system score of 533 to qualify. The Canadian Experience class is designed for skilled workers who already have Canadian work experience. Applicants must have at least 1 year of skilled work experience in the country within the past 3 years. This draw is more selective than a previous round on August 5th. That round issued 3,000 invitations with lower cut-off score of 516. The tie-breaking rule applies where more than one candidate has the lowest score. In such case, the cutoff is based on when they submitted their profiles. Canada has now issued well over 113,000 invitations through express entry this year alone. A substantial share has gone to Canadian Experience class candidates. And in sports, the new English Premier League season begins this weekend with a full slate of fixtures. Arsenal opened the campaign on Friday night when they host newly promoted Coventry City at the Emirates. Manchester United travel to Hull City on Saturday afternoon. Everton face Crystal Palace, while Nottingham Forest welcomes Leeds United. Brentford hosts Tottenham Hotspur in the evening kickoff. On Sunday, Manchester City begin their title defense away to Bournemouth. Brighton takes on Aston Villa, while Newcastle United face Liverpool in the late game. The first round of matches concludes on Monday night when Fulham hosts Chelsea at Craven Cottage. All 20 clubs start level on points as they battle for the title and European places over the coming months. Bayern Munich midfielder Jamal Musiala has reassured fans over his health after revealing that he has been experiencing brief episodes of absence linked to a neurological dysfunction. The 23-year-old male disclosed on Instagram on Tuesday, saying he is receiving specialist medical care and remains optimistic about his recovery. Musiala said the episodes may have been responsible for worrying moments during recent matches, including games against Leipzig and Heidenheim. He explained that Bayern Munich, his family and close associates have been supporting him while neurological specialists have cleared him to continue playing football. Musiala said he feels positive about the recovery and believes remaining active with his team is helping him. He also appealed to fans to respect his privacy, saying further details of his condition would remain his close circle. Bayern Munich and his medical team. Musiala was recently taken off during a pre-season friendly after collapsing on the pitch just 3 days after a similar incident in Munich. And that's News Radar on TV West. Thank you for joining us.